Would anybody like to guess as to whether or not we're going to get a copyright strike from a 4 foot tall death metal drummer? I think before that comment I might have had a chance of not having a copyright strike, but now I think it's pretty well assured. Anyway, I'm sure you've all seen the thumbnail by now, so you know that we're doing the Harvester of Sorrow for Buff's Garage. This is by far the best OBS dually diecast that I could find. And for what it's worth, it's actually pretty good, but I will have to jump through some hoops. The first hoop, I've got to try to save the blister on this card. And the biggest reason for that being is that I will never find a proper blister for this one. So I've got to try to save the existing blister and put it on a different card later. My plan is to use the freshly sanded backside of the card as a sort of filter to allow the acetone to seep through and loosen the adhesive on the other side. It did take several applications to get the blister to release from the card, but man, you can't argue with the results. Don't worry about the chunks of blue that are still on the blister. I'll give it a nice little bath in some more acetone and that'll come right off. While the blister's sitting in the acetone bath, what do you say we take a look at this body? Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm kind of disappointed that there's no interior in it though. I think we should fix that. Call it a little bit of foreshadowing about what today's Tinkercad session's going to be about. It may be a bit bigger than most of the diecasts that I work with, but it still comes apart the same way. I've got to drill out the pegs and explode everything. I have found a problem with the construction on a bit of this model though. Absolutely everything is held together with pressed pegs. So naturally everything has to be pulled apart the same way as the body and the frame. It's okay. It's the least I can do to suffer for my craft. Well, there we go. One completely pulled apart body that's ready for the goo. After the goo does its thing, I'll rinse it off, then polish it up and get it into primer. In the meantime though, I've got to go hunting for a new Dremel. Well, I say new. Way back when I started the channel, I only had a Walmart special Hyper Tough knockoff. I have not used it since, and I'm hoping that it still functions. Well, we're about to find out. I need to tell Foggy that I finally found hers. Although I'm not entirely sure that it's going to work with my Dremel attachments. Alright, that's enough of a sidebar about the Dremel. Let's get back to the build. Once I get everything all polished up and shiny, I'll get it into primer and then immediately into paint. This build has been remarkably easy so far. I need to go find some wood to knock on. It just occurred to me how I could create an interior for this. I know you can't see it because I'm behind the curtain, but the gears are turning. While I grind said gears, let's get this thing into primer and we'll head off to the Tinkercad session. Well, I think it's a pretty good design. I'm not entirely sure that it's going to fit the whole perimeter of the glass, but it does look pretty close. And here's the moment of truth. Ah. Measuring twice definitely worked out on this one. Let's get the body into paint. After just a little bit of remeasuring and resizing, I was able to manipulate the interior of the truck to make it just small enough to fit inside the body of the truck while the body of the truck is on the frame. You have no idea how many times it took me to recite that line. Anyway, the interior is going to sit perfectly inside the body, so all I've got to do is remove these two little ridge lines here and it should be good. Yeah, it's a tight fit, but that's pretty much perfect. We can't let it be too loose or it'll just look like crap. And the best news of the day is that since I didn't have to manipulate the frame or change the axles or anything, it's already got rubber tires. I'm pretty much done. I'll do one final assembly and make sure everything fits together properly. Then I'll pass it off to Foggy and she can do her thing. I don't have much to say here, folks. Just enjoy the show. Yeah, she's still one of the most skilled painters I've ever met. That said, ladies and gentlemen, I think that brings us to the end. I'd like to say a special thanks to Buff from Buff's Garage, and let's get on to the glamour shots.